So I always start my grooming session with a really good, thorough currying session. This isn't just good for getting the loose dirt and hair up to the top of the coat, which is what you usually use currying for, but it helps to bring out the natural oils in the horse's coat to keep them shiny. And it also gives me a chance to get really deep and close to the horse, make sure that there's nothing on their legs that shouldn't be there. There's no new scratches or cuts that I need to pay attention to, no lumps or bumps or things like that. And I use a really soft, kind of flexible rubber curry to do this so that I can use it on the legs and really get in there and make sure that the horse is looking their best and feeling their best and that there's nothing that there shouldn't be on their coat. So after I'm done currying, and here I show you what that small rubber curry looks like, I go in with a stiff brush or a dandy brush and really get that dirt and hair that I dug up with the curry off the top of his coat. So I'm going to do this on his whole body except his face and get him ready for the next step. So after a smooch, I'm ready for my next step. I spray Arli's entire body with Healthy Hair Care pink stuff. It's hair moisturizer that helps to mimic the natural oils of their coat, keep the skin and hair soft and shiny and moisturized. And then I brush that in with a nice soft brush over his entire body. So that helps to make sure that all of the hairs are coated, and it helps to get that remaining layer of dust off of his hair. And then I just go in with a nice little soft face brush, get all the loose hair and dirt off of his face, and kind of brush through his forelock a little bit gently. And next, of course, is picking out his hooves. So I make sure that I really get in there with the hoof pick. You can make sure that the horse doesn't have any thrush, any loose shoes, any missing nails, nothing that shouldn't be there. And you notice he gave a big stretch with his hind legs. He does that sometimes after he's been in a stall. So the hoof pick gives me a chance to really make sure that his feet are looking how they should. Right now he's about 3 weeks on the farrier, so he's kind of towards the end of his cycle, so I really make sure that his shoes are nice and tight. And then I go in with a Hooflex Therapeutic Conditioner. I'm a little low on this bottle, and that helps to make sure that his hooves are healthy, helps protect against thrush, and it's a barrier against too much moisture. So I use this on a pretty regular basis. Then I come back to his tail, and usually I just pick out these little things that he gets in his tail, these little pieces of trees and stuff like that. I don't usually brush it, but when I do, I start out by spraying it with a detangler, and then I use this brush that I got from Tractor Supply. It's like Tangle Tamer or something like that. And when it catches hairs, these little tines kind of let go. So it basically keeps it from ripping the tail out. And I start at the bottom, pick his tail up like this, and then just carefully brush out the whole bottom. And again, I like coated his tail in detangler first. So once the whole bottom section is all brushed out and has no tangles, I'm just going to grab a little higher up the tail and again kind of do the same thing. You want to be really careful when you're brushing out tails. They tend to get very tangled, and every time you brush it out, you're pulling out these hairs, and it takes a year at least, if not multiple years, to grow as long as this tail is. So to grow a completely all new tail hair is going to take you a year or two. So you want to be very careful about not yanking out any more hairs than absolutely necessary. I usually, like I said, I usually just pick out his tail with my hands. Today I'm just showing you how we brush it out. Of course, I'm not being the best safety person right now as far as standing behind my horse. Usually I would tell you to stand back to the side or on this side. Truthfully, I'm just trying to get a good angle, but I trust him. He's never kicked at me, but it's not necessarily a very good excuse. So here's his tail all brushed out, ready to go. No tangles, no trees, ready for the next step. And now, of course, leg protection. I never work my horses without some kind of leg protection. On this particular day, I'm tacking up for a flatwork ride, so Arli is going to be wearing polo wraps in front, and behind you'll see me put on some fetlock boots. I use Escadron fetlock boots when I'm schooling at home, and Arli always wears fetlock boots no matter what because he does interfere behind. And now it's time to actually tack up. So I start with this little jelly pad, helps keep the saddle pads from slipping. And then I just use a regular square pad. Fun fact, I've had this pad since I was 10 years old, and it is still my favorite one. And then I always use a sheepskin half pad, working on getting it off my saddle right now. I have an Ovation Europa saddle pad. It does have shimming abilities. And I have a Professional's Choice girth that I use here. And then my saddle is a custom Kentaur saddle that I got about 2 months ago through my partnership with Saddle Guy, Mike Scott. And it is a wool flocked saddle, and it is fitted to Arli, so I don't use it on any other horses. And it is a long forward flap. I have really long femurs, and so it's kind of hard for me to find a saddle that I like that fits me well. So it was really great that I ended up in that partnership with Mike, and I was able to get a saddle that not only fits my horse and helps him feel his best, but it also helps me to ride my best. Then I also use MDC S Classic stirrups. I notice an enormous difference when I don't use them. My knees and my ankles already at 25 really hurt, so it's really important that I use these stirrups that help me to feel my best and stay as mobile as possible. And when I tack up, I use the back 2 billets. I was taught this by a couple of saddle fitters. So you use the furthest back billet and the middle billet, and that helps to relieve any pressure on the withers from the saddle. And then I'm spraying him just a few spritzes with fly spray. This is EcoVet fly spray. It works very well, but it's really potent. And now it's time to put on my helmet. I always ride with my hair down in a ponytail at home. It is safer that way. Sometimes I'll do a braid, but basically I don't ride with my hair up in my helmet. And I ride in a 1K Avance Rose Gold helmet. It's super comfy and I love the wide brim. I also have a Cask Star Lady that I show in, but it was really expensive, so I just saved that for the show ring. So now it's time to bridle up. I put the reins over his head first and then take off his halter. I'm always careful not to hit his teeth with the bit. He does walk up like that. It's just something he's always done. And if that's the naughtiest thing he does, then I'm doing okay. So I always make sure not to hit his teeth with the bit. Pull his mane out and everything like that. I use an Ovation jumper bridle, figure 8. And I love this bridle. It's held up really well. It looks beautiful. It's fancy stitched. So it's a really great deal. And Arli goes in a few different bits. I change them up fairly often because he likes to figure things out. But the bit that he's currently in is a loose ring Waterford. Doesn't allow him to hang on me, which he likes to do. And it's still pretty soft as long as he's being soft. So I find it's great for jumping and for flat. I usually just use it to jump and use something a little easier for flat, but today we're in the jump bridle. So here he is, all tacked up in his Ovation bridle, looking so handsome. And then he has his Kentaur saddle with his Ovation saddle pad, my MDC stirrups, and then you'll see his polo wraps and his escadron fetlock.